Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Thanks for joining for the final round recap. This is the list that I took to the RTT I went to at the weekend. It's the Champions of Contagion detachment. Please go back to the first video for round one, and I go through the list in a bit of detail as to why I take the units and how I link them together, and the general sort of overview of what I play with. The mission that we had to play was Scorched Earth on the Crucible battle map. I believe it's mission P in the Prior Nexus book, and it was using layout 6. This is where I'm going to have to apologize to everybody because with the matchup against Emperor's Children and it being the final and Jack being a very good opponent that I knew I would have to have my full concentration for, I ended up forgetting to take any actual photos or video footage of this. That's my bad. It's something I'm going to try and remember going forward and always try and capture at least a little bit to show you what's sort of happening and my thoughts on the day. But what I am going to do is sort of run through the deployments and the main beats of the game in TTS. So we're here now on TTS. As mentioned before, with the mission and everything, it's the Crucible Battle deployment. So I believe Jack ended up getting the roll off for attacker defender, and he ended up placing some tormentors down here just to put some models down here, and obviously have the backup to support them with the demon prince and the tormentors down here. I ended up putting some poxwalkers up and mirroring his actions up there. Everything followed. He wanted to make sure that Fulgrim was safe. A previous game against him, Fulgrim was out in the open and got shot by a land raider, and he didn't like that very much. So he was nice and hid. Lucius was just hiding down here. He elected not to put Lucius with the Flawless Blades. The Flawless Blades were hiding behind here just in case I did go first and I pushed. He was able to counter strike with them. The Tormentor unit here was just sticky in that objective, and then another one here. The big scary Lord Exultant was in this Rhino, and because this Rhino was filled with only the infractors, it was able to scout. So one of the main things I want to highlight on this deployment for myself is if he went first, there probably wasn't too much he could have done to interact with me. If he got out of this Rhino and scouted the Rhino, if he went first, got out of it, advanced in strategy, was probably on top of me. But that is why these Poxwalkers were sort of pretty much spread out like this, so that he couldn't scout the Rhino forwards. And if he did go first, he was going to have to go around the Rhino, around the Poxwalkers. I didn't want to give him a free overwhelming force, but giving up no prisoners for one unit wasn't going to be the worst thing. So the rest of the units for me, everything was pretty much on the line. Demon Prince down here wasn't getting blown up, but there wasn't really going to be any shooting from him. The Spawn can go forward and sort of do another version of the body block. The Poxwalker's up here on this point, and then the Spawn reinforcing it that there if anything does happen. I think on the terrain here, Fulgrim was going to get past, but in the actual event, it was sort of impossible for Fulgrim to get through this port. He would have to go up and over if he did. So those Poxwalkers were 1 inch of that wall and pretty much safe all game from the Fulgrim threat. And then the heavy blight launchers were just sort of spread around, able to put some firepower down channels depending on which way he ended up coming. We have the Typhus unit, which was with the Death Shroud this time, and then Deep Strike and the Lord of Contagion unit. The Lord of Contagion always goes with a Death Shroud unit just because of the 6-inch charge. With the strat support, it allows me to put some major hurt into him. Obviously, Fulgrim's a key target for that. With the crit 5s and the reroll hits and wounds. If we can get that into there, we're probably pretty happy. And then the 10-man Plague Marine unit started in the Land Raider. I think the Lord of Virulence deep struck on its own. Sometimes I would, because there's the extra slot in the Land Raider, he would probably go in there. But I think for this, I elected to just have him as an action person, but also be able to bring down and point at something. I end up getting first turn. So we end up try and cover as much of the board as we can and try and minimize any sort of threat that he can present in his in his turn 1. So the spawn just go there, distance, the 6 or whatever it is, and then the main thing that we want to do here is, because Lucius is quite far away from the Rhino and so is the Demon Prince. I think these guys just scout in here. He elects not to scout the Rhino, which after discussion, he probably should have, because he wanted to obviously be going forward with this, and the Poxwalker's blocking that off. He just decided to leave it there, but realistically, he probably should have pushed this back. So I end up taking -1 to hit because I'm not going to be able to get anything in Contagion particularly too bad. The only thing that I'm realistically going to need to kill is this unit down here. There's no way of me realistically interacting with these guys. So -1 to hit's a good choice here. And what we end up doing is we move our distance and we charge, making sure that we are outside of 6 of Fulgrim. And with pile-in and consolidation, we managed to wrap the Rhino, which is excellent for us because it means that all the people inside of this Rhino, which are the big scary things from the Lord Resultants with the enhancements, if they come out anywhere, I couldn't wrap it fully. It was kind of like this. They would have to come out here first and then go round, and then they're not going to make an advance to really realistically threaten anything of ours. I couldn't get any sort of shots anywhere, so it was kind of a staging process. I think roughly it was sort of like this. The Demon Prince came out and got an advance. The spawn made it so that they couldn't fail the charge, and the drone was sort of out like this. I think this one was actually down here because I remember being 2 drones. And the Land Raider ends up coming down here with an advance, I think, just because I can see one of the main threats I want to deal with is the Demon Prince. Fulgrim's kind of limited with where he can go. Lucius is obviously up there as well, and those things can really hurt the Plague Marine unit. And if I keep the Plague Marine sort of down here, controlling this entire side of the bottom, because he only has the Lord Exultant's units in the Rhino and the Demon Prince in Deep Strike, I don't think my home field is in too much danger because I'm going to be exerting so much pressure on him. He's going to have to put out fires in his own lands before he comes to me. So that sort of ends up happening. That's wrapped, which is fantastic for us. I think we lose 1 Poxwalker on the fight back from the Rhino, which was funny. This unit gets killed by the shooting and the spawn. The spawn just move on to here, and we end up leaving the Demon Prince in a bit of a silly position. So onto Jack's turn. These come in here. These guys will easily kill up the spawn. The Lord Exultants are really strong. Advance and charge. And the Rhino, he elects to keep here. He's planning for later in the turn. Lucius the Eternal comes to clear off these Poxwalkers. I think my Poxwalkers came out just to be a bit of an annoying screen and to be able to spread Contagion next turn while the spawn were on there. Fulgrim pops out a wing so that you can see the Poxwalkers and they sort of spread out, and these guys can see that too. And these guys sort of stay here. So as we mentioned, these guys took no problem at all killing the spawn, so they're going to here. And the mistake that I made before was the Demon Prince makes the charge into both of these guys, does 5 mortal wounds to the Demon Prince, and ends up handing me 4 saves, which I think I passed 2. Could have tried the CP reroll to save his life, but nope, he ends up dying. So that means you got 2 for unit kill 2 units for overwhelming force, which was good, but didn't get an engagement on fronts, which he ends up discarding. And then moving on to my turn 2, we've drawn Established Locus and Bring It Down. So both good things for us at the moment. We know that we can deal with this down here with a Plague Marine unit, so they get out. The hope is that with all the shooting down here, that Plague drone just retreats, so I can get shots without the -1 to hit. All the shooting from this unit into the Demon Prince, even with the -1 damage, should do a lot of damage. And then the Land Raider can move up here. I think he is able to get a line of sight into Fulgrim at this point for how big the base is that it's on. And Typhus comes out the 3 inches and just gets within the space to be able to kill, be able to do Established Locus, which is good for us. I think these Poxwalkers were just about alive enough for me to be spreading Contagion onto these guys, and I decide that it's better for the Lord of Contagion unit to come down and kill them. Damage 3 on his weapon against the Peerless Blades is very good. And that meant that the Lord of Virulence unit would come down here. These Poxwalkers had a few of them killed off, but enough to move up and get Fulgrim and the Tormentors into Affliction. And that meant that we could 6-inch Deep Strike, which is obviously fantastic for us. This goes off with the shooting from this drone, and I think the Plague Marines managed to just about kill the Demon Prince, which is great. And then some shooting kills a few of these guys, but not too many. And we plink a few wounds off Lucius, I think, but nothing too. No, I think that we didn't shoot anything here. Maybe the Demon Prince. Jack does bring his Demon Prince down here with Rapid Ingress, just as a way to counteract this Death Shroud down here or fight down here. And we end up making the charge. So those guys end up dying to the Plague Marine unit, which is great for us. And the Death Shroud made the charge, but they only just made the charge, so they could only really go up against the wall. We made sure we did our ordering correctly, so the Poxwalkers charged Fulgrim, and the Death Shroud charged just the Tormentors. With the movement, we were able to move block it so that these two are actually closer to Fulgrim, and because of the order of operations, and Jack chose Fulgrim's aura to be the fights first one, he fights first, kills the Poxwalkers, and then when we get round to it, we can fight to kill the Death Shroud with these Tormentors with the 2 Death Shroud, but the Death Shroud can pile into Fulgrim and attack him without worry of being attacked back by Fulgrim, because he's obviously already fought this phase, which was good. Lucius does end up killing the Poxwalkers, so it's funny that took a few rounds. And then one of the big decisions was at the start of the fight phase, so this fight actually happened first, was whether he used Fight on Death with the Lord Exultant and popped his once per turn ability, have his birthday, and kill as many Plague Marines as he can, because that damage to weapon is deadly, or whether he would interrupt up here. So he does elect for the interrupt, so that is secure for us, and then all of the attacks from the Flawless Blades. I think he only ended up being able to get in 4 of them because of engagement being a little bit awkward, so they sort of went down like that. They weren't able to be base to base or in engagement, so they attack and they kill 2 Death Shroud, and then on the pile in, I think I still pop quick 5s here, and then we end up killing 4 with the Lord of Contagion, or might have been 5, and then the other Death Shroud ends up killing them, and they can pile into the Tormentors, but they've not got anything that we're particularly worried about. So it was a very good turn for us. We've removed most of the scoring pieces. We're still scoring the secondaries, and we control a lot of the board. So his next turn, he gets Assassination and Established Locus. Locus isn't great because he's just not got the units left to be able to do these type of things, but he's confident that he can get Assassinate. Typhus is out there on his own, so he gets the big scary Lord Exultant unit. This is the guy that has +1 damage, +1 attack. So he's damage 3 on his melee, and when he pops his birthday, he gets 10 attacks, I think, like that, and he can get sustained because of the detachment, and rerolling the wounds of 1 or whatever it is. So yeah, that's not going to end well for me. The other guys get out, and I think they come up here to try and deal with the Death Shroud up here. Lucius comes up here to deal with these Death Shroud. At this point, remember, because of the final ingredient killing the Lord Exultant, the entire rest of the game, and from the point of the start of my fight phase, was -1 save and -1 to hit, which is great for us. I can't remember what the Rhino does once it's disembarked. Everything, it might have still been in combat with 1 Poxwalker down here, or something silly. So he elects to move this guy this way to try and deal with these Plague Marines. I do say I will Overwatch because we've got a lot of Flamers in here, and if we get lucky with Melters or the Plasmas or anything, and we do end up taking, I think it's 7 wounds off there. Just with the flamers, the Bladecasters is pretty good. I think he got 5 wounds through, something like that, which is pretty crazy. And then when he charged, I used the CP for fights first and managed to kill it before it could hit me. Obviously, it's charged because it had removed a lot of his wounds. I think he killed 1 or 2 models with the mortals on the charge, but that was something that meant that this bottom of the board is pretty much all in my favour, and I didn't have to worry about that too much. I can just move a drone on and control there, which was nice. This was kind of devastating. So these guys all charged into Typhus, and this guy went into the Land Raider. And yep, the Lord Exultant with all those buffs can one-shot a Land Raider. Pretty grim. So he did score the Assassinate. Doesn't get a Locust for anything. Lucius does go into these guys up here. I think he kills 1 or 2. Remember the -1 to hit, so it's affecting quite a few things. I think Fulgrim kills another. I think kills the rest of them, and the Lord of Violence is still just stood here, punching back. Who tries to kill Lucius, but it's just not going on here. These guys, I think, do kill the Lord of Contagion and this guy to the wound. So they're dead now, and they're moved in over here. And the Lord of Contagion does get back up, so he's just down there. And then I think that was it for his turn. So obviously he's now extended. He's got this unit here, but everything on the board pretty much is up in this corner, which is not where he wants to be, and he's still only getting 5 points on primary. So going into my turn, I got Storm Hostile, which is perfect, and Sabotage. So Tallyman just steps in here and does the Sabotage action. The rest of this sort of side of the board isn't dealt with for the rest of the game. We move the drones up here to be able to shoot up here, and we've got the drones being able to shoot. And then these guys manage to put some damage onto the Lord Exultant squad. We strip it down to just the Lord Exultant, and then these guys make the charge, which ends up getting the Storm. I think the Lord of Violence dies by then, and we've now been in a position again. I think we start the burn with the spawn up here because he can't come here and interact with him this way. And then one of these drones, I think, was chilling down here just to score a secondary. And we do get the Storm and the Sabotage points. And then for turn 3 for Jack, he gets no prisoners and recover assets. Again, an action secondary, which is not particularly good for him. I think he does bring Lucius down, and he does bring Fulgrim down. I think we overwatch Fulgrim to try and take some wounds, but he's still on more than 10, so it's nothing particularly scary. He makes a charge. I do fights first, again, try and knock some wounds down. I think we get him down to being bracketed, but then they both slaughter most of the Plague Marines, but the Ballad just poots fire, and the Plaguecaster still survive. So which meant the burn went off here, and at that point, it was probably the end of the game. I think we decided to call it there, or we went through the cards. I think we might have played another round, and yeah, I think we played went through, and the drones would have ended up finishing off Fulgrim and taking off the enough damage off there. And with the Lord of Contagion getting back up, I think he went in and killed most of this Tormentor's unit. Yeah, so that was the game with Jack. It was a really quite a tactical game. No real glaring errors from either side. I think I lost my Demon Prince rather cheaply at the start, and I think if he scouted this Rhino back a little bit, that Poxwalker unit doesn't wrap it for the first 2 turns, and it's probably a slightly different game. But the outward pressure that we were able to push with the Land Raider threat, with the drones, and with the spawn, we were able to keep the Emperor's Children into his own deployment zone up until turn 4, pretty much. And then there was no way of catching up on points at that point. So yeah, we can see the score at the end there, 93-68, where we managed to control our side of the board, burnt some objectives when we knew we were probably safe to still score the 10 points and really push the Emperor's Children back. Obviously, they are pressure lists themselves, so us to be able to keep them back really put them on the back foot and meant they were fighting in their own space. And that was it. I hope you've enjoyed going through these recaps from the RTT that I took the Champions of Contagion list to. I realised they've all been a little bit different. This is the first time I've done this sort of thing, so please do leave any feedback. How I can improve these sort of things, maybe which one you preferred. I can go through the games again with TTS if I can remember them well enough, or just the videos on the day are a very useful tool. So I'll try to remember in any sort of games or practice or tournaments. The next thing I'm going to is the Leeds GT, so hopefully I'll be able to do stuff there. But I know that in the events there is a lot of background noise, so I don't know how much. I might just take the videos and have to talk over it then. But yeah, we took the win. Got first place with 2 games of 100 and the last one of 93, so only dropped 7 points over the whole RTT, which was fantastic. Shout out to the East Warrington Gaming Group again, and the organisers Paul and Dan. They ran a great event, and everyone was there had a great time. Keep your eyes peeled for some more recap videos. Hopefully, put out some more content soon. Thanks, everybody.